So hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to our presentation today. The title of our presentation is Protest Safety Guide, Know Your Rights and Assess Your Risks. And our speaker today is Mark Wampler. Mark is a lawyer and an organizer with 50501NC, and he's a frequent legal advisor to grassroots action groups on First Amendment rights, safeguarding against repression by law enforcement. He likes to say that in a past life, he served as a grunt in the Marines, and now he takes that experience and dedication of service to fight oppression from within. So, with that, we're going to ask Mark to share his screen, and we will go ahead and get started.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that introduction. Good morning, everybody. I am sharing now. Okay. Um, yeah. Good morning. I appreciate everybody that took time out of their weekend to come in and listen in on this. And anybody who's watching online, the recorded version, welcome. And appreciate Laura's introduction. I'm, as she said, an attorney in North Carolina, and I organize with 5501NC in Raleigh and advise on rights or permit issues or basically how to go about our events safely and demonstrate as effectively as we can here. Um, so I just want to start today saying that we're operationalizing constitutional protections, constitutional law for the street. I want to be upfront and say that the most dangerous myth in activism is that the police are here to help you. Um, this is this is going to be mostly about how the police, our local and state police, are there to they say keep you safe, but are going to be frequently the first and most common people who will be violating your rights to free speech. So, with that said, this training is a method of risk management. We're breaking this down into three phases here. Phase one being the preparation, your risk assessment, and phase two being the encounter when you're asserting your rights, and then phase three, which is aftermath, post arrest, and what happens and what you should be doing if you do get caught up in an arrest. Um, so the reality gap is that the law on the books is not the law on the streets. Asserting your rights isn't about convincing an officer to be nice to you. It is about creating a record for a defense attorney to use later to get your charges dropped. So with that, let's figure out how to change my slide here. Okay. I don't know why I went there. Okay. So I just want to lay out the scope of this, that this isn't exactly legal advice. Again, I'm a North Carolina attorney, so if you're watching this from out of state, your laws may differ a little bit. And it's all going to be very fact dependent based on what happens, in your individual case. So just want to make that clear. Uh, and yeah, as I said before, asserting your rights doesn't guarantee that police will respect them in any given moment. Your mileage really may vary, often depending on how you look or uh, the specific tone of the event that's going on or what you're doing. Um, as I said, though, it's to create a legal record that makes it harder for the state to prosecute you later. And then the goal of this is just to try to end law enforcement interactions as quickly as possible and minimize your liability so that you can protest confidently and safely, which is something we all want to do here. So the First Amendment is about your right to free speech, and we want to distinguish here between what's pure speech and what is conduct. So speech in a traditional public forum is going to be something that is, you know, done in the street or park or sidewalk. Those are public places that where your rights of free speech are most protected. And this includes the right to criticize police and advocate for abstract ideas, including even revolution. Um, so while a permit might give you a traditional public forum, the police can and do revoke that protection the second they decide to declare an unlawful assembly. So permits, you might be a bit comfortable if you have a permit. You generally don't need one if you are in a public place. So we've seen, at least in my practice here and advising other chapters, that permits aren't a guarantee, and they're often riddled with obstructions or fines, or sorry, not fines, but fees to uh, make it more difficult for you to go out and protest. So if you see a fee, to get a protest permit, or if you're required to carry insurance, those are generally going to be something that we're not going to want to comply with. You know, definitely reach out to an attorney if you do find that some cities' permits are um, currently preventing you from going out and exercising your free speech. Um, so want to contrast this protected activity with what isn't protected. We're we're seeing that incitement, that speech directed at imminent lawless action, is not protected. True threats, intent to frighten or intimidate individuals, and trespassing. So you don't have a right to protest on private property. So incitement would be something like being on a megaphone and saying, "Shoot that cop now." Um, something that is imminent versus we should overthrow the state someday, maybe. Okay. And then true threats would be, the intent to frighten or intimidate specific individuals. Okay, and then civil disobedience, the concept of that is when you're specifically breaking the law by, say, blocking traffic or trespassing on private property that isn't protected by your First Amendment rights, and definitely carries with it inherent arrest risks. So, you'll definitely want to gauge your risk on that before you engage that. Okay. So the way you do that, the way you can gauge your risk or assess your risk before you engage is going to depend on a few things. A big part of that is going to be if you're a non-citizen, then there's definitely a higher stakes there. If you are arrested in in, in a protest or otherwise, you definitely face the potential consequences of being deported. And we've seen that, especially in this administration, there's not a lot standing in the way of the country sending you to a country that you may not even be from now. So that's definitely going to be a big risk. If you're a lawful permanent resident or a visa holder, they've been revoking the status of that, and it's always a good idea if you are to make sure to keep your green card on you. Make sure not to carry any foreign passports, and if you can, just if you have U.S. papers like a license or a state ID, make sure that you have that on you. If you're a minor, you do have a certain risk as well, that if you're arrested at a protest or otherwise, you will be you will be in juvenile detention, but when they release you, they have to release you to a guardian or a parent, which if you have folks that may disagree with your um, political point of view and that you're at a protest, that can carry its own risk, you know, parental retribution or whatever. And should add additionally that the school systems, public schools, and universities do not require a warrant to search your book bags or lockers, that kind of thing. So those Fourth Amendment standards are not the same in a school. Also, parolee, if you are on parole, being at an unlawful assembly can violate your parole terms. In addition to that, if there is a North Carolina law now that if you have been arrested recently in the past and you are on an unsecured bond, if you are arrested a second time before that trial and conviction, then there is an automatic trigger in that arrest, changing your previous unsecured bond to a secured bond, and then a 48-hour minimum detention period. So just be mindful of that if you're currently awaiting trial on an unsecured bond. Okay. So what we can do before to prepare for protest and potential risk is there's digital measures that you can be taking. So your phone is a witness against you. While police generally need a warrant for a search, they can physically force your finger onto the sensor or hold a phone to your face. So we generally want to, before we even leave the car or the house, turn off your Touch ID and your Face ID if you're on Apple, and make sure to implement a password protection. They can compel your biometric unlock of your phone, but they can't compel you to unlock your phone via a passcode. So it's always a good idea whenever you're entering a protest or where your rights may be violated that you know and safeguard yourself as much as possible. We're also going to want to make sure we're using encrypted apps instead of text messaging, things like Signal. And best practice is to just leave the phone at home. It also says turn off location services and Bluetooth. We see that because they're engaging stingray interceptors at these protests and collecting data about the people that are attending there through the use of their phone signals. And so, the less you can be identified in those ways, the better your situation will be going forward. You never know how these kinds of things will escalate if Trump or any other dictator wannabe was wanting to round up people that were going to these in the future. They've already called us terrorists, so what's stopping them from collecting this information about us and then coming after us using our just because we were nearby even a protest with our phones out. So definitely keep your eye on that. And then, just as we safeguard our digital safety and our legal safety, we want to safeguard our physical safety. So just a few, easy things here to do. Bring in goggles. If you think you're going to be in a hot situation, the kind that shatterproof kind of or workshop goggles are going to be good. I have a couple here that if you can see, these ones that have the sort of plastic around them are going to be the best way to prevent a lot of gas coming through it. So better than something like this that has it's not showing up very well, but anyways, yeah, better than that, like that kind of workshop style. Um, so also having nondescript long sleeves on, and you know, I like to carry a hoodie as well, in my bag, just to have a change of my features, my clothing features. If there does need to be a kind of exit from the area, it makes it harder to follow you out of an area. Any prescription medicine that you have, make sure it's in a labeled bottle so that you know if they'll confiscate it if it's not. A water bottle is great, not just to keep you hydrated, but to flush out your eyes if there's tear gas deployed. I think that the best thing to do is get those cases of sport bottle water bottles. If they're sealed, then you know that they're sterile. And those sport bottles that have the squirt that you can put pressure on, they're really good for clearing out your eyes. And if it's better off if they're at a room or air temperature rather than cold. And then an energy bar, of course, because everybody needs snacks. But definitely leave behind things like pocket knives or anything that can be construed as a weapon, bats, batons, anything. That's easy evidence for them to use against you. You had a premeditated intent to riot or violence. Contact lenses, unless you want the burning under your contacts for hours, and that tear gas will get everywhere. So that contact lens case is useless if you're stuck having that on your person during a encounter with tear gas, and then any jewelry that they could use to grab you. Okay, so situational awareness whenever there are police, and it seems like the protest is getting kind of hot. You want to make sure to keep your head on a swivel. There's a common tactic that they like to deploy called kettling, where they will surround a group of protesters and then systematically and sometimes violently arrest and cart away groups of protesters that way. So make sure if you're noticing that kind of thing, if you start to see riot gear being deployed, you want to stay to the edges, and even before that, make sure you've kept your eyes on the exits as they come up. So dispersal orders, they are legally required to provide notice and a clear exit path. So they're going to make it pretty loud, and hopefully pretty loud, that there was an unlawful assembly, and that would mean that they do plan on arresting people. And so if that's really not your speed, that's probably the time to leave. And I did put this on the slide, psychology. So they're they're going to have good cop, bad cop type of approaches, even casually in the crowd. You want to avoid having cops wander through your crowd and talking to people. Generally, you really want, especially if you're an organizer, you really want just one person, maybe two people that's trusted in your group who will be your police liaison. And that way, if there are any problems coming up, if it looks like they're going to be calling on unlawful assembly, if they do look like they're ratcheting up, they're escalating their forces, you have somebody there that can negotiate with them, or be the only one to talk to them, because the more that they talk with more organizers and more attendees, and they're gathering information, then they're starting to identify through that intelligence who the organizers are and who they need to target when they do crack down. So you want to minimize that as much as possible. And I'll get to your right to non-incrimination, but also want to talk about the right to record. That there's an absolute right to record law enforcement while they're at your protest and out and about. Best thing to do is do it openly. Don't try to hide it. You should be keeping your distance as much as you can, and not getting in their way, or being accused of interfering. But best thing to do is, um, don't cut just, long video as they're around, and definitely as they're escalating um, their forces. So comply with the officers if they tell you to back up, and make sure when you are recording to record it locally rather than live streaming, because police can watch a live stream as well and may be surveilling that. Okay. So when you are encountering police, um, they're generally going to maybe be casual about it, but you can always disengage police um, when you're not being detained. So maybe the first thing that you should be asking when you're talking to them is if you're free to leave. Um, if you are, walk away calmly, and you know if you happen to give them a little hair flick when you do it, that would be cool. I can't do that kind of thing, but if you do it for me, I'd appreciate it. Um, and if they say no, then you ask if you're being detained. You know, if they're saying no, they're escalating their conversation with you to uh, uh, more to like an arrest. And at that point, you need to treat it like you're being arrested. And they're they're not required at this stage to read your Miranda rights. Your Miranda rights always exist. You always have the right to remain silent. You should you should you really should do that, right? The less you tell the cops, the less they have to use against you. Okay, you don't have to help them do their job. It's their job to collect evidence against you. Do not help them, even casually. Casual conversation with them will not benefit you at all. Um, so you risk your First Amendment protections if you agree to talk to them. Just don't do it. Searches, they don't have a right to search you or your bags or articles until unless they have a warrant or arrest you. Um, they can detain you if they have a reasonable suspicion that you are a threat to their safety. So they can pat you down if they think that you might carry some risk, like have a weapon on you. But unless you consent or under arrest, uh, um, they can't ask to search your. I mean, they can ask, but uh, they can't search your pockets, your bags, or anything without your consent. So you need to actually speak up and say that you do not consent to the search. This goes for driving too. They can search, and when they go to your window and they pull you over, they can see what's in plain view. But if they ask you to get out of your car, and you have to do that, okay. But if they ask if they can search it, say no. Say I don't consent to the search. They can arrest you. They can get a warrant. But um, you know, look, even if you're not trying to hide anything, you have a right to privacy. You have a right to assert your Fourth Amendment right here against search and seizure. Okay. If they've escalated it for some reason and it goes to being an actual arrest here, the best thing for you to do is say that you are going to remain silent and you want to speak to a lawyer. Um, that's all you should be saying. Uh, the, they're going to get to the point of booking you, and at that point, you do need to identify yourself with your name. You can give them your address, your date of birth. Leave it at that. That's as far as you need to go. And you really do actually, I mean, you can be silent about everything else. You do have to identify yourself to them. I was just talking to somebody last week who got arrested, and he was very good about the silent thing. I want to talk to a lawyer. I'm not telling you anything, but he didn't give them his name, didn't identify himself at all the entire time that he was with them, and got another charge for obstruction of justice, because in North Carolina, at least, you do have to identify yourself once you've been arrested. Um, So when you are, undergoing booking or arrest, uh, definitely don't talk about the event, the protests, your friends, or your politics. Just leave it all out. Don't give them any more than they need to convict you. You do not have to help them do their job. Um, don't accept any deals without a lawyer. Only a prosecutor can offer you a deal. They'll try to say, well, your friend said, or, well, we can give you this good deal if you just cooperate with us, or whatever. Don't buy it. They will lie to you. They're It's legal for them to lie to you. It's not legal for you to lie to them, okay? But um, they will lie to you. Just don't believe them and stay silent, okay? Um, Once you do have a phone call, uh, oh, actually, we'll get to that in a minute. So you're going to have to say you do have to say I'm going to remain silent. That's Supreme Court law says you have to assert your right to remain silent and you say that you want a lawyer. Once you do that, they're obligated to stop questioning you. Um, Whether they do or not is one thing, but they're supposed to stop questioning you at that point. But you're going to have to repeat that to every officer that you meet as well. Otherwise, the next guy who, maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable opening up to, and he didn't say it, well, now he's got a lot of evidence that they can use against you. That's that good cop, bad cop thing coming up again, right? All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about legal observers. I'm part of the National Lawyers Guild, and I work with them a lot. Legal observers, we've seen come up in the news a little bit recently in Minnesota, where there have been a couple that were initially reported in the news as being legal observers in Minnesota that were shot. Um, they, but the National Lawyers Guild has identified that they weren't exactly any of our legal observers. That said, we just want to clarify a little bit of what they do. Um, we wear green hats and have mine here. Okay, so they look like that, and or they might be a beanie. Either way, you might see them around on the outside of a protest, keeping an eye on the local law enforcement that might be showing up there. Um, they're trained volunteers that work under a lawyer. Their notes are work product privileged, and they only show up at protests or events that they're invited to. So they won't just volunteer to show up unless it's a like something like the 2020 protests where there wasn't a lot of organization and there was enough going on there that they could count on showing up and they're being welcome there, but there wasn't exactly anybody organizing those events that would be inviting. So they show up on an invite only basis. But they're not just lawyers in the streets. They're often law students and lay people, volunteers who are going. And it's a bit like Cop Watch, but we monitor and document police action, and so we're trained to uh, see see the signs of when police are look like they're escalating or um, building up in blocks away or that kind of thing. And then if there is an arrest, uh, the arrest is documented so that that information can be used later for the defense of that person who was arrested or in a civil lawsuit against them. But should make it clear though that they're not your lawyer in the street and they can't intervene or negotiate on your behalf. So yeah. They also have a jail support hotline, okay? And it's very easy. They made it easy, being 919 massive. If you do find yourself getting caught up in an arrest, you can use this number, and they'll often be have it active during weekends or times when there's a good amount of protesting going on. So you can always find on their Instagram NCNLG. You should go follow it, but there's an image there that shows up whenever it is live or active. And I should make it clear too that this hotline is for the Triangle area. Other chapters, other states might have their own that you should be looking up if you're in a different area. And jail support, basically, if they're tracking the folks who have gotten caught up in the system, and they're coordinating either lawyers and or bail funds to release them, and then they'll meet you there at the jail to pick you up. So when you are making the phone call, if it's either to the jail hotline or to an attorney that you know or a family member that maybe it's maybe the only number that you have, which is fine. Um, just remember that the police record and listen to your calls. They can use the information that they get from that against you in court. So limit as much as you can what you say to them. Say what your name is and where you're at, and leave out any details about the protest or what got you into trouble. Okay. And one more caveat here about the hotline, or really any number that you want to keep on you. We've seen that people have been advised in the past to go ahead and write it on your arm. The advice these days is against that, as prosecutors have determined that or use that against you as a premeditated intent to commit a crime. If you're writing a lawyer's number on your or a hotline number on your arm. So maybe best this one is this one is an easy one to memorize. 919 massive. But if not, you can write it on a small card in your sock or shoe, and then you can make sure that it's not being used against you. That you're preparing to be arrested, basically. Okay. Let me keep going back. Okay, so I have these resources and references here for the National Lawyers Guild. Definitely go and look them up. They have so many more Know Your Rights information about knowing your rights, and when it comes to campus protests, when it comes to immigrants and immigrant risks, and then also when it comes to federal law enforcement engagement. Like we see with these ICE protests. So definitely go over there and give them a look, and become a member too if you can. Definitely keep an eye out for any legal observer training if that's the kind of thing that you think you'd like. If you've already done CMBR around here, it's a lot like that kind of training, but we can always use more volunteers. And then the ACLU also has lots of information, and the EFF.org is more for digital security knowledge. Okay. All right. So I'll open up the floor to questions, and I'll leave this up here. This has some QR codes for, there's on the right, the MIRAC is a Google Drive folder that has a bunch of resources for in multiple languages, but lots of Know Your Rights materials there. And then on the left side of the screen is a QR code for printable red cards with lots of Know Your Rights information that you can either print or order from there in many other different languages as well. So as always, if you do have questions, as a lawyer, the answer is very commonly, it depends. So I hope we can maybe, try to help you with any questions you have, but I'll probably say that it's very fact specific. So thank you for coming.